Or like, yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I love that I can see you both. I feel like I'm with you in Hawaii and DC. I'm gonna pretend it's the Hawaii, yeah, the Hawaii climate. Because yeah, yeah, I know. I'm like, I'm in Austin and we're getting this winter advisory. Lord, like we all know what happened a year ago, so fingers crossed. It's all good. No, we don't. So fingers crossed. But anyways, it's nice to be with you. Like Kylie said, I'm a dietitian. For those of you who aren't as familiar with PCOS, I'll just describe, I guess, some simple things. First off, it's commonly looked at as a reproductive syndrome. And there's so much evidence and research coming out that PCOS is so much more than that. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I get phone calls from women all the time and they say, I just was given birth control or I just was given this. When yeah, PCOS has a root cause, just like anything else. And so I always say to clients, don't cling to those four letters. They're just letters. It's a way of your body saying it needs support at a root cause or at a root, like really deep within your body. Because for some women, it could show up as Hashimoto's. For somebody else, it could show up as eczema. Your body is just literally screaming for help and it got labeled something. And it doesn't mean you're going to be infertile the rest of your life. That's like one of the biggest fears. Hmm. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how I like to look at it. I mean, I never want somebody to say, I've been diagnosed for 20 years. Don't tell me this isn't real. I'm not ignoring the fact that it's real. There's a diagnosis, there's a criteria women need to meet to be diagnosed. But I just wanted to start out with that because if all your listeners hear is that I actually don't have to fear these four little letters, I can just open up the hood and see what's going on. Then let's do that. And it's a big mindset shift. And we know how powerful the mind is with healing. So, to be diagnosed with PCOS, the two out of the three criteria is you have to meet two out of three, like I said. So, ovulatory dysfunction, high androgens, or cysts on your ovaries. When I say ovulatory dysfunction, that could be changes in the menstrual cycle. So you have to meet two to actually be diagnosed. Sometimes I see women given the label of PCOS and they haven't even met the two as well. There is a genetic component to PCOS. So I say that because there is something in your genetic makeup that got a little stressed or a little pushed by your environment, and then the flip went on, or the switch got flipped on, and then you were given the diagnosis. So that's where we say, well, how can we manipulate environment? We can't exactly change the genes specifically, but we don't have to fear that. So I want to give more of the science. Like, there's a genetic component, but there's so much you can do to manage it. You have to meet 2 out of 3 criteria to actually be diagnosed. And then let's just look at the root and let's see what's out of balance and help your body come back into balance and harmony so that you don't have to fear the 4 letters the rest of your life. Yes, yes. Every female is a little bit different. I personally completely reversed my PCOS. It's not on my medical records. When I go to the doctors, yeah, they're not looking at it. But that being said, because I have this genetic disposition, like from my ancestors, from my family, I live a healthy lifestyle so that my body doesn't flip that switch again. But I don't feel sad or I don't feel jealous because at the end of the day, we should all honor our bodies and live a healthy, balanced life, right? So I don't always use the word cure. I use myself as an example to reverse. Other women have had that. And a lot of women do really well in just managing symptoms. And then they like say, oh, yeah, I don't even have to acknowledge those 4 letters. As long as I lead a healthy life, that feels good to me. Yeah. Yes. So polycystic ovarian syndrome is kind of a misleading name for the imbalance because not every female presents with tons of cysts on their ovaries. Oftentimes, what I hear a lot is women are younger, so they're in their teen years. It's been a year and a half or two. They don't have that regular cycle. They're starting to gain weight. So now they're dieting, they're exercising, but they're still gaining weight. They're starting to get facial hair. Or the weight gain's not always a thing. Some people see really bad acne, really intense irregular periods, high amounts of stress. So the root cause can be different for every female. But what we're typically seeing is an unwanted symptom or shift in the menstrual cycle or inability to manage weight, even though someone's feeling like they're living a somewhat healthy life. That usually leads somebody to go to the doctor out of frustration of what is this? It doesn't seem normal. Doctors tend to run panels like blood sugar, insulin, testosterone, and they will typically look at the ovaries to see if there are cysts. That's a fairly conventional approach to uncover if it is PCOS. So I do want to honor the fact that nobody's trained in PCOS unless you go out of your way. I remember being a dietetics major. I think there was one paragraph in my life cycles book about PCOS. And at that time, I was like in the heat of it. I was thinking this is weird because my naturopath is telling me diet is pretty important. So why are we not learning about it? So I preface with that to say the doctor, right? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So our doctors are doing the best they can with the resources they have. And I'm so grateful for them because when these symptoms come up, just like when they came up for me, you're kind of freaking out and you just want to go see your doctor. And so even once you get that diagnosis, there is almost something comforting, like I'm not making this up. And then you get the results. Once you get the results, you only have a couple minutes with your doctor, and they might suggest again a medication, possibly a low carb diet. And then that's where women, I think, feel really frustrated and anxious because they were thinking, well, I uncovered it, but now this is all you're giving me. And that's what then leads them to look for more. And I love that the women's intuition. I tell my clients all the time, I was like, it's your intuition that really guided you to want to look deeper. So I do think 100% we need to be looking at PCOS so different. And that's why I love coming on these podcasts. So thank you. Spreading the message. I'm so passionate about shifting how we address PCOS in healthcare. It's not going to change every doctor's office, and that's fine, but how can we just get a little bit more information out there? So, all said and done, I think it's the first logical step, but it should not be the last step. It should not be the last step to your care. Mhm. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. So, a big one that I hear is I don't know what to eat. I love that we have Instagram and social media, but I'm seeing it cause damage as well from an emotional perspective because when you have dietitians on Instagram saying for PCOS, just do this, and it's not working for this person at an individual level, or it's not giving somebody enough flexibility, it creates a lot of emotional distress. So they're getting a message from the doctor, they're reading blogs, they're going online. I mean, all three of us are online. It's like you want to provide some information and value, but I encourage people, if you're feeling confused or anxious, don't stop there. Seek a little bit more care or a little bit more structure. So I hear all the time, like, what do I eat? Below that, we really work on beliefs around our food because women with PCOS are more likely to struggle with disordered eating patterns. Not a full blown eating disorder, but when you're told not to eat carbs, do this, don't do that, it's a psychological mess. And if a female with PCOS who's finally diagnosed was battling weight gain since age 12, they might have been on diets since they were a preteen, and I hear that a lot too. So we're looking at the physical and emotional layers to food. That's a big one for people. And then we're looking at their body systems. So how's your thyroid? We do a little bit of the gut stuff. How's your liver function? Because again, PCOS is not just a reproductive syndrome, it can impact your whole body. Women with PCOS are more likely to have thyroid dysfunction, more likely to have gut issues, at chronic risk for or a higher risk for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, diabetes, right? It's kind of like a long-winded answer, but usually we're looking at all of those pieces. Everybody's needs are a little bit different, like how much time we spend, but then we definitely get into movement, sleep, really breaking the social norms, and it's like what's right for your body in this season. I know. I know. Like we've got to get out of here. Like I'm pointing, no, so like our head and our ego and our subconscious. That's why, I went on to do the NLP, neuro linguistics programming training, because I just needed to learn more. I'm like, what is going on at this subconscious level? I need to be in a place where I'm always within my scope, but I can understand the client a little bit more, because our subconscious belief systems or limiting beliefs will keep us from healing. So when you say the body's smart, it's like the body is so smart. But as women, and women feeling like their body's working against them, it's hard to put trust in the body. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. No, I love it. It is. Yes. Yeah. 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 Yeah, and I think that's a good segue into understanding that there are different root causes for PCOS. Like you mentioned, if my workday is stressful. So a root cause of PCOS, one of the root causes can be some sort of adrenal dysfunction. Now, I'm not talking, a clinical diagnosis of adrenal dysfunction, but if you've been under high amounts of stress. So women with lean PCOS are kind of fit this bill. When I say lean, it means they're not struggling with the weight gain. They might not really struggle with the insulin resistance. This is independent. This is not your ovaries producing testosterone, which happens when a female is overweight, has the insulin picture PCOS. This is your adrenals are producing those higher amounts of testosterone. So that's where we say, have you had trauma? Have you been super stressed out? The perfect female for this is type A, modern woman, high corporate job, kills herself to work and possibly have a family, overthinker. Not a bad thing. We all probably fit that bill. Right? But just one of the root causes. So we have to look at your lifestyle. Some other root causes, environmental toxins or inflammation, gut inflammation. Mhm. Yes, Yes, I love that you brought that up because I'm deep diving into that in a training this weekend and how our beauty products and all of that affect our libido and our hormones. But yeah, so environmental toxins, I mean, if you live in an urban area, you're just ingesting more toxins in the air, buses, cars. If you're using plastic for your drinking, if you're storing your food in plastic containers, if you're putting on all your beauty products in the morning. I think women are what was the exact statistic? Don't quote me on this, but it's something like women put double the amount of chemicals in their bodies every day than men. Um, yeah, 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 at the door. And we're seeing connection between plastic and insulin resistance. We're seeing these sort of toxins connected to PCOS. An interesting study, they had female teenagers shift what they were drinking out of, like from plastic to glass or stainless steel. And they already saw an improvement in hormone function. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. Good try. You just have to teach them. It is. It's like I feel the same way. My partner and I were getting there, and I think the way I describe. I mean, I don't think your listeners will care, but he had like the nonstick, and I was like, those are bad for the boners. Like, and that stuck. He told his friend about it. He's like, we can't be eating at a nonstick. Yep, glass. I tell people too, if it feels like too much to redo and just get all the glass Pyrex, save an old pickle jar, save an old jelly jar, stuff a salad in there, make it cute. Yeah. Mhm. No. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. You can go into cleaning products. You could get, and I don't want to say, yeah, like I don't want to make people feel bad about what they're doing. It could be laundry detergent. I have a whole non-toxic list, and what I do for clients is we always start with what you drink out of, how you store your food, and then I say when you start running out of one product, one cleaning product, one laundry detergent thing, one hand soap, go to the list. This will support you forever. Keep the list and then just pick one item from the list or something like it and just switch it out. Toothpaste, right? Like you could go crazy. Hairspray. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. No. Yeah, and you're never gonna be perfect. I mean, I drink out of plastic sometime. Like, and I think that's important too. All the three of us, yeah, we probably it's almost second nature because we've dedicated our life to health, but you have to be flexible when you travel. If I'm away from my home on the weekend or I go on a weekend trip, like I will get a plastic water bottle at the gas station. It's fine. The far and few between is not a big deal. Use the hotel, bar soap if you have to for a week. Not a big deal. It's just the majority of the time you do the best you can. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely, because people might say the thing that comes to mind, and I don't want to get too scientific-y, but the MTHFR genetic mutation, right? I have MTHFR. I've got to get tested for this. Well, we've all had these things as long as probably humans have been around, right? Like these things have existed. Our environment has put more load and pressure on our bodies. So I say that because your body doesn't have to be in the perfect state. It is resilient. Just give your body a little bit of what it needs every day and it will support you. Don't get a hang up in what faults your body might have. It is resilient and it doesn't have to be in perfect shape to work well, right? And like, how do I say this simply? It's essentially a genetic snip where sometimes your body cannot absorb or utilize the vitamins to the best of its ability to support your overall health. For some people, that can show up as mood disorders. Oh, good. I was like, whew, that could be mood disorders. Inflammation. Yeah. So I just say that because I think sometimes it's easy to also fall into the mode of like, what if my body can't do this? What if it has this? What if it has that? It's like your body will do the best it can. Yes. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I love that. So, supporting the liver is something I really like to focus on for metabolic health too. So, your liver, there's so much like pressure, right, that it gets put under every day to support you. So, mhm. Yep. Super busy. Yeah. So one of the best ways to support that is sleeping enough, right? Like you detox, you cleanse, you repair in your sleep. And we've become this nation, I don't know, we think it's cool to sleep less. For so long, I was embarrassed to say I like to sleep 8 to 9 hours a night. And then I'm thinking, yeah, screw that. Like this is what my body needs. That's cool that somebody can sleep 5 or 6 hours. Everybody's a little bit different, but definitely getting that sleep in is huge. Adding in nourishing foods for the liver, like dandelion, bitter foods. So there's dandelion tea. Bitter foods are kind of weird for people in this culture because our taste buds are built on sweet, salty in this country. So I always encourage clients just embrace it as a different taste. That's all it is. We don't have to judge it. It's a little different. But that could be, yeah, like radicchio is a great one, arugula, broccoli rabe, dandelion greens, turnip greens, beet greens, a lot of foods that kind of look like weeds. But they're typically found in the grocery store if you look hard enough. They're not as desirable. And I always tell people try pairing them with a little bit of olive oil and lemon. The lemon will cut the bitterness a bit. Yep, and the lemon supports the liver too. So adding lemon to your foods, to your water, to your tea. Um, so yeah, just a few key lifestyle tips. It doesn't have to be like you don't have to do these crazy cleanses, you know. You can support it daily. I think that's the big takeaway. Support your liver daily so that it doesn't get burdened. That could be a cup of dandelion tea. The sleep, right? Yeah. Yeah, they're within the category. I'm as familiar with the green tea. I don't know what I say. Like, yeah, I'm like, it's probably, yeah, it's probably good for, probably good for the liver. And I'm slightly biased in the sense that a lot of things I just listed, they're things I grew up with. We talked about this in the beginning. I don't love the flavor of green tea, so I don't know much about it. I encourage clients to drink it if I think it can support them. I'm like coffee, yeah, I like the flavor of coffee. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, so there's like a few categories that can make it a little bit easier if you're thinking about identifying the root cause of PCOS. So one would be sort of like that adrenal stress picture. Another would be environmental toxins and inflammation. So, inflammation can come in all different ways, right? Depending on what our body is responding to. So, is there dysbiosis in the gut? Is there something else being triggered in the body? So that's where you just have to do a little bit more digging. Another root cause could be considered the insulin resistance. To me, then we have to ask, well, why is somebody insulin resistant? Are they eating a high carb diet? Like, what's going on in their lifestyle? And the other root cause we look at is birth control. So, if a female had regular cycles, no known hormone imbalances before starting the pill, then maybe they went on it. A lot of women are on the pill for 10, 15 years now, easily, and they get off it, and then they're seeing an imbalance. Yeah. Then they're seeing the imbalance. PCOS. Yeah. Yep. So those are like how we could look at root causes. From there, it's so individualized. You have to, we could have a whole nother podcast about, okay, then what do we do on the based on what the root cause is. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Post pill PCOS is kind of like what we would label that root cause. Your whole reproductive area is being shut down when you're on the pill, right? You're not having a real period. Some women don't even know that that's just a bleed. Your body's not having the cycle. I don't know exactly how the pill works. I'm going to be super honest. I'm not an expert in birth control, but all I know is that you're not ovulating. It's essentially shutting down the communication between the brain and the reproductive organs. I think that's like highest level. Jolene Brighton's an incredible provider. She has so much on Instagram. She has Beyond the Pill book. I'm just quoting her name because she gets like deep into birth control. She's like the birth control expert if you want to learn more about that. But if your body is being shut down, it can take a little bit to bounce back. So there is something called the androgen like rebound, where once you're off the pill, sometimes the androgens can go higher. Certain birth control pills can actually create like some blood sugar issues. So we're seeing connections in this. Obviously, birth control can be related to mood disorders. Birth control disrupts the gut microbiome. It depletes your B vitamins, your magnesium, some antioxidants. So I never want to shame the pill. There's a purpose for it. It works for women different. That's just the information about, depending on your genetic makeup, how could the pill be disturbing the body, right? Maybe for you it got triggered, yeah, from the blood sugar stuff, or maybe your vitamin depletions, or maybe your brain and reproductive, organs that can't communicate as well. And we have to you know, make that work again with herbal supplements and everything else. So I think a lot of different ways and how it could impact somebody, but that those are some good pieces to note of what could be going on. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. And I. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is where I'll use the term just foundational lifestyle shifts. So, yeah, we can get caught up in the details, make lots of changes, but one simple strategy for somebody is just eat regular meals with a little bit of protein. As females and females with PCOS, we really do better if we're eating throughout the day. There's a lot of information around fasting, intermittent fasting, because we're so hormonally complex. It might not be right, or depending on where you're at in your menstrual cycle, where you're at in your life, fasting might not be right. So I just want to touch on that because I think there's a lot of emphasis on actually skipping meals now. So just eating regular meals, not going more than 4.5, 5 hours between meals. That's like one strategy. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so some foundational, plate information I love. I have this cool like plate exercise I go through with all my clients and even through my PCOS course, but we actually look at this visual and we say, what should the plate look like at our meals? We take the diets out of it, the fads, and we look at supporting PCOS at a root cause. This can support different types of PCOS because at the end of the day, we want to balance our blood sugar, balance our insulin, support our gut health, support our thyroid, support our liver, right? We want to address all of this in one plate. So when I say a little bit of protein, I usually emphasize around 3 ounces, like, your standard, sort of like your fist size. That can change depending on where you're at in the time of the month, what your movement looks like. That's individualized. What I'm talking about now is just standard, for listeners. General, having lots of fresh veggies. So getting in more fiber and more veggies than you'd probably ever think. Somebody could come to me who's vegetarian, or somebody's done paleo, or somebody's done keto. Well, guess what? That portion of your plate should actually look the same. We all just need more vegetables, fiber, feed our gut, get the vitamins and minerals. And it's not super high in processed carbohydrates, right? But that fiber can really hold us over. Another component is really getting in some good, healthy fats. So fats help with our brain health. They help create cholesterol, which help create hormones. Cholesterol is not bad. It's not like an evil word. You can eat an egg, great fats in the egg yolk, some good omega 3s, and adding carbs to the plate. Sometimes I have to help clients add in carbs because they've avoided them for so long that their body actually is asking for a little bit of good carbs. So we break down carbs. What are the good carbs? So that's what I mean by, regular meal timing, making sure your plate ideally has most of that. Every meal's not going to be perfect, but don't wake up and just have a bowl of cereal and then skip lunch. Like you're stressing out your body. So just like a really simple strategy. Working on sleep is another big thing. Another foundational piece is just natural sunlight. Get outside. Like, just get outside. Yeah, they do. Well, what I want to point out is, yeah, closer. Yeah, your ring light. It's so cute. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I was going to point out, what's interesting? So I've lived pretty much all along the East Coast, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Virginia, North Carolina. So I've had varying degrees of winter months. Like some, it's like New Hampshire's intense. Virginia, I'm like, this is a breeze. Now living in Texas, people complain about the heat for 7 months. So at the end of the day, people are gonna complain, and I'm a very like gentle practitioner, but I just want to tell people who are listening, it's okay to be uncomfortable. Like you're gonna do things that you feel a little uncomfortable in the moment and then they get better. So I would encourage clients, I worked with a big population out of New York for a few years too, and I would just encourage clients, bundle up, do what you can. Go out for 10 minutes after your lunch, as long as it feels safe, like you're not gonna get frostbite, but bundle up so you're connecting with natural light, you're seeing a tree, you're hearing a bird. That's so healing for our nervous system. Not even just hormones, but your nervous system, because that plays a role too. So I tell people, like, I never say this, but it's almost like a suck it up, buttercup, do what you got to do, just get out for a little bit. Yeah, like just a little bit of time. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, oh, so much. And what I hear, because again, like I said earlier, women are so intuitive, my clients will start going out for walks more and then they'll say, I love walking. I actually didn't go to my super crazy fitness class. I connected my partner on a walk now. And so I think it's a greater message that you can find so much joy and you almost start to crave it, because it is like this deeper piece of your body and soul saying, this is all I needed. Like, I just needed to get away from the electronics, connect with nature, reset, and not kill myself doing something else or denying myself. People feel guilty. Why do you feel guilty? Step away. Go for a walk. No. Yeah. Yeah, and this is a lot of, this gets into a whole nother piece of motivation, but I love getting into the topic of value. Like, why don't you value that time? What are your values? So I go down all these rabbit holes with clients because it's so much more than just going, doing the walk. It's like the motivation, the value behind it, shifting values, shifting the limiting beliefs, the old thought patterns, and it all comes up. No. Yes. Yeah, yeah. I say, you know what? I'm going to ask you questions that you probably didn't think to ask yourself throughout this process together. And it's all questions that's going to help you get curious, explore, connect with yourself more. So, yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yes. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, so processed carbs are essentially our grains that have been literally processed. So we're looking at white bread, pasta, bagels, Pop-Tarts, cereal, crackers, your 100-calorie snacks. So it's not that if you have a little bit of it, oh my gosh, again, like you're not gonna fall backwards, but you just don't want to be having it every day in your diet and you don't want to be having it as a large quantity. So nourishing carbohydrates. Yeah, it's a treat. It's a small amount. It's a experience. I tell people if you're eating a food that is maybe a little bit more processed or indulgent, create an experience. Have a few bites, enjoy it, and then move on. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Natural, yeah, natural sunlight exposure, getting a little movement in. I think those are just like literal toxic. We talked about toxins, liver support. I think if you just start with one, two, three, or four of those, or re-listen to this ending of the podcast, remind yourself of what you're not already doing. Those are the foundational pieces. Anything past that can be more detailed, more individualized. Like if you're really ready to do it, it's there. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. 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 Yeah, we've got a few things going on. So I've got individual programs, depending on where the person's at, what they need. Again, it's all tailored to them. So if somebody's interested in working one-on-one together, just signing up for a complimentary call on the website, womensnutritionclinic.com, can also be found through the Instagram handle. And I created a PCOS course because, again, I felt this need when people get out of the conventional medical side of it. It's like, what is the foundational stuff? So the foundational pieces we just talked about, I go into it a little bit more. I give you a little bit more step by step. I give you even a little bit more information, support. So that can also be a great like first step if people are like, just give me the foundations, and then if I want individual, I'll go from there. But I worked so hard on this course in the way of I had to like sit with each module and say, does that feel like it's going to fit the need? 12 years ago, whatever, when I got PCOS, this was all I needed. This would have saved me so much anxiety. How do I need to structure it so that somebody feels like they just get it at their fingertips until they meet individual or they just have that piece and that's what supports them. So that's a great like starting point, or I would say like, and do your pillars here and then start the course. So those are some good ways to get connected or learn more. Yeah. Mhm. Thank you. So fun. It's so fun. Bye.